We've all been sold the same story since childhood. Motivation is the golden key, the secret fuel, the magical spark. Teachers told us we just had to find the motivation to study. Fitness coaches said we needed more motivation to hit the gym. Self-help books promised endless tips on how to get motivated and stay motivated, as if there was a hidden faucet you could just turn on.
And you probably believed it. We all did. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Motivation is not the starting line. It never has been. Waiting for motivation before you act is like waiting for the weather to be perfect before you leave the house. You'll spend your entire life staring out the window. Think back to the last time you wanted to start something meaningful. Maybe you told yourself you'd finally learn guitar, start a side business, or just get into better shape. You probably waited for that moment when inspiration would hit like a lightning bolt. And maybe, for 1 or 2 days, it did. You felt unstoppable. You strummed those first chords, you designed that logo, you bought those running shoes. But then, reality showed up. The excitement wore off. Now it wasn't fun anymore. The guitar strings hurt your fingers, the business idea looked messy on paper, and the Snickers ended up in the back of your closet. Where did the motivation go? It vanished. Because it was never supposed to stick around in the first place. Here's what no one tells you. Motivation is not a cause, it's an effect. It shows up after you start moving, not before. Action creates motivation, not the other way around. Think about brushing your teeth. Do you wake up every morning with burning passion to clean your molars? Number. You just do it because it's part of the routine. And after you do it, you feel a little better, fresher, ready for the day. The feeling comes after the action. The same goes for work, learning, creating. The very act of starting produces the momentum that later looks like motivation. This is why motivation is such a terrible strategy. Imagine relying on it to build your future. It's like depending on a guest who always arrives late, stays for a few minutes and then disappears without saying goodbye. This is why motivation is such a terrible strategy. Imagine relying on it to build your future. It's like depending on a guest who always arrives late, stays for a few minutes and then disappears without saying goodbye. If you only walked when motivation was in the room, you'd barely get anything done. The successful people you admire aren't riding on some infinite wave of inspiration. They've just built habits that don't rely on feeling good in the moment. They act first and the feelings follow. Your brain, unfortunately, doesn't make this easy. It's designed to protect you from discomfort. Starting a new project feels uncertain, even threatening. That's why you suddenly feel the urge to reorganize your desk, clean the kitchen, or scroll endlessly on your phone right when you're supposed to begin. Your mind whispers, "I'll start when I feel more motivated." That's the lie, because that moment almost never arrives. The brain tricks you into waiting for a chemical state that isn't naturally sustainable. Think of motivation like the weather. Some days it's sunny, some days it's pouring rain. You wouldn't decide to stop going to work just because it's cloudy, right? You grab an umbrella and go anyway. Discipline is the umbrella. It's what keeps you moving even when the skies are grey. And here's the irony. Once you're moving, once you're acting, despite the weather, motivation often shows up like sunlight breaking through the clouds. You start writing, and suddenly ideas appear. You step onto the treadmill, and suddenly energy arrives. You open your notebook, and suddenly focus returns. The act itself generates the emotion you were waiting for. Society glamorizes motivation because it looks sexy. We love dramatic montages in movies. We rarely see the boring repetition, the 5 a.m. alarm clock, the mornings where nothing feels right.
Real achievement doesn't look like an Instagram highlight reel. It looks like showing up tired, unmotivated, and still doing the work. The lie about motivation makes us feel broken when we don't feel inspired every day. The truth is, no one does. Not even the most successful people you know. So how do you break free from this myth? Stop asking, how do I stay motivated? And start asking, how do I make it easier to start? Because starting is everything. When you lower the barrier to entry, you reduce the resistance. Want to work out? Tell yourself you'll just put on your sneakers and walk for 5 minutes. 9 times out of 10, you'll end up doing more. Want to write? Promise yourself you'll write a single sentence. Chances are you'll write a paragraph, maybe even a page. Action is contagious. It multiplies itself. But you have to take the very first, tiny, unimpressive step. And let's not forget the role of reward. Your brain loves progress. Even the smallest check mark on a to-do list releases dopamine. That's why habits stick when you celebrate the little wins. Don't wait until you've run a marathon to feel proud. Feel proud when you lace up your shoes 3 days in a row. Don't wait until your book is published. Feel proud when you write 1 page a day for a week. Progress, not passion, keeps the engine running. Now, here's the twist. Once you understand that motivation isn't a prerequisite, you gain freedom. You are no longer chained to your moods. You don't need to psych yourself up every morning. You just need to begin. And ironically, by abandoning the obsession with motivation, you end up with more of it. Because every time you start, you generate that spark you thought you needed beforehand. So let's rewrite the story. Motivation isn't the hero. It's the sidekick, the background character that shows up once the real work has begun. The true hero is consistency. Not glamorous, not dramatic, not Instagram worthy, but powerful. Because consistency outlives mood swings, outlasts bad days, and outperforms fleeting sparks of inspiration. Next time you catch yourself waiting to feel motivated, remember this. You've been lied to. The feeling doesn't come first. Action does. Start messy. Start unprepared. Start unmotivated. But just start. Because once you do, motivation will eventually catch up, like a loyal but lazy friend who always lags behind.
Write what you think about this in the comments.